Hi guys, this is the advisor and welcome back to the channel of upright men and women. Jamaica, Jamaica, Jamaica. I've got some very good news to pass on this morning. As you all know, Jamaica had always been the cultural, the technological, and the sports powerhouse of the Caribbean. And now we are on our way to becoming the economic powerhouse of the Caribbean. And some of you will click on this just for the title because you mean Jamaica well and you love your country. But on the other hand, you're going to say, boy, this have to be clickbait. Because how on earth can Jamaica be exporting oil to Trinidad? Jamaica doesn't have oil. Trinidad has oil. So, how that work? But this morning, guys, I can tell you plain, this is no clickbait. This is absolute reality. And stand by, guy, this is extremely great news. And for every proud Jamaican, for every single patriotic Jamaican, anywhere in the world, they are going to be extremely happy this morning. It's one of the many dozens of good news we have been having over the past few years. And today, for those of you who love the truth, I am about to make your day. And for those of you who don't like hear the truth, unless it's a truth where you want to hear, this may be where you're gonna want to leave the channel. But I was never here for popularity. I was here to be truthful, factual, and honest. And of course, sincere. But there are those people for whom what I'm about to say is extremely bad news. These people feel that as long as it's not their party in power, then all of the worst things that could ever happen to Jamaica and its citizens should happen. They feel that there should be no good news coming out of Jamaica. It would be a pleasure for them to hear, say, Jamaica have earthquake, famine, disaster, unemployment, high crime rate, high murder rate, low production, mortgage for take we, fly for blow we, disease for take we. Everything that is bad. Why? Because it's not their party that is running the country. But here's the good news. Such people are getting very few these days. And we are seeing the rise of a much more patriotic set of Jamaicans who are not so driven politically by political bias, but by the facts on the ground, and are prepared to sacrifice their party in the interest of their country, in the interest of their children's future. And that is the context behind which I'm now about to say what I'm saying. Yes, guys, it is a fact, an absolute fact. Jamaica is exporting oil to Trinidad. Our oil refinery, Petrojam Limited, which is owned by the Jamaican government, has secured a lucrative deal with Trinidad, which is worth around US $90 million. That is 14 billion Jamaican dollars, which will be the cost of sending oil to Trinidad in 2025. And this deal is signed, according to what I'm hearing, for 5 years. Under the agreement, Petrojam will supply nearly 1 million barrels of very low sulfur fuel oil and high sulfur fuel oil to Trinidad each year. This will amount to between 60,000 and 90,000 barrels of the fuel per month to the Twin Island Republic for the purposes of refueling ships that arrive in Trinidad. The first shipment left on Sunday the 23rd and arrived on Wednesday the 26th of last week. But the next question is, before we go any further, here is what let us contextualize this. Trinidad is the only country in the Caribbean that has oil. Well, until Guyana got oil just a few short months ago. And the question would be asked, how comes Trinidad have oil and have no refinery? Or how is it that Jamaica doesn't have oil but has a refinery? Well, the truth is Trinidad actually did have a refinery. But Trinidad's refinery has been out of use now for about 8 years. And they were sending their oil to other countries, not to Jamaica, because they hate Jamaica like that. Always have, from slavery days till now. They keep sending their fuel to other countries, the USA and even Venezuela, which is a bit closer to them. Well, they used to before America made them stop. But they sent their fuels abroad to be refined and sent it back, because the reason being that it was too expensive for them to refine their own oil. Now, how can you have an oil-rich country that find it too expensive to refine their own oil in their own refinery? That's a question I have to ask, and at this time I have no answer for that, because that no make no sense. But there you go. So it was cheaper for them to just export the crude oil and then buy it back. But eventually they found that those prices to send their crude oil up abroad and to have it refined and buying it back, they were getting a raw deal. But they stuck with that raw deal because they didn't want Jamaica to benefit from anything to do with Trinidad oil. But eventually they overcame this prejudice, not because they wanted to, but because they realized that they were cutting off their noses to spite their face, and they decided to come to Jamaica, use Jamaica to refuel their oil, because they could have it done here cheaper than they could have had it done anywhere else in the world, even in them own refinery, in them own country. Now, I am no economist, so I would know how to work that out. I would leave that math to somebody else, because I'm looking at this not from a financial standpoint, but from a sociological standpoint. And at this point, I'm going to have to big up a Jamaican politician. Me no care which party you come from. If you did something great, me I go say it. Big up Edward Philip George Siaga. He was the one with the foresight to build Patriotism back in the 1960s. We still never have no oil, nor know if we would ever find oil, and to this day we still don't. But he said, listen, if we could refine our own oil here, we can buy it cheaper as crude and use Petrojam to create jobs, create the technology, and provide a service not just for Jamaica, but for the rest of the Caribbean. And with that foresight, Petrojam came into being. Now, I'm going to contextualize that some more. And I could use many examples, but one example that I will use is Nigeria. Oil has been pumped out of Nigerian soil since the 1950s. So, going on 70 years, the oil poor country of Nigeria, yes, that's the opposite of an oil rich country, oil poor. Because successive Nigerian government has allowed the white slave masters to come in and rob its oil, and has been sucking out its oil for the past 70 years and for chump change. Yeah man, sell out. Them same people that they put with on slave ship and send we come here in the Caribbean. Anyway, The deal with Nigeria is the same as the deal that Trinidad have had with the US and other white slave masters for the past 8 years. Nigeria would sell its oil, the crude oil, to the white exploitative rapacious slave masters and then buy it back after it has been refined at an exorbitant price. So Nigeria never get nothing for its oil. Nigeria never had an oil refinery until last year, 2024. And it was not even the government who did it. It was a rich Nigerian businessman who built an oil refinery in his own country so that Nigeria could keep some of its oil money, because for the past nearly 70 years it was getting any money from its own oil. So I will say it was, and remember, at the time when Petrojam was built, it was the only country in the world, the only country on the planet that had an oil refinery that did not produce oil. And you know which was the second country in the world that had an oil refinery that did not produce oil? It was Singapore. And where did Singapore get the idea from? Guess where? Lee Kuan Yew, the Prime Minister of Singapore, came to Jamaica in the 60s, look at what we were doing, and take the model back to Singapore. So, whether you like Siaga or you hate him, give him flowers. Now, it is and was the current administration's foresight to expand the capacity and the technological base and the efficiency of Petrojam over the past few years that gave it the ability to actually make it possible for Trinidad to come on board. Now, Jamaica is back. It's on its way to becoming the Caribbean economic powerhouse that it is supposed to be. For the first time in our lifetime, the pariah, the parasite of the Caribbean, which is Trinidad, has to, despite its prejudices towards this island, has out of necessity decided to do business with us that was not exploitative for the first time. Because Jamaica have always had a parasitic relationship with Trinidad. And I won't go into the history of it because I've made previous videos highlighting that history, but it is a fact. And for the first time, the disparity between the export numbers between Trinidad and Jamaica is lessening and lessening as the months go by. For example, at the end of 2023, Jamaica's export to Trinidad was US 35.91 million, while Trinidad and Tobago's export to Jamaica reached US 177.49 million. Now, the projections is this. Theirs will remain stable for the rest of this year at around the same US 177 million, while Jamaica's export to them will increase from 35 million to almost double, 68 million US dollars. So in a short 2 or 3 years, the Jamaica's economy is likely to overtake Trinidad's economy. Because at the moment, not only is Jamaica going to seek more contracts to send oil to other Caribbean countries, but they are going to try to see how many more Caribbean countries they can send oil to. And they might even, I hear that it's on the cards, according to Daryl Vaz, for Jamaica to refine oil for Guyana. But that is still at the negotiating stage. Now, I have to say this. This is a far way from what had happened under the PJ Patterson's administration, where PJ Patterson, with a mentality that made him totally subservient to Trinidad and Tobago, where him cock up Jamaica back way. This once proud country was cocked up back way by him, skirt lift up, drawers drawn down, and make Trinidad give it some back shot for 18 and a half years. Matter of fact, in every position possible, Trinidad was allowed to flirt Jamaica. I would have thought that everybody in that administration actually had a Trinidadian passport. And if any of you want to see that video, which was speaking the total truth, go look up this one and I'll put the link in the comment section. Go and look for it and you see how we were shafted by Trinidad with the total, full and explicit cooperation and help of PJ Patterson. Now Jamaica is on its way to become the powerhouse of the Caribbean in every way that's humanly possible. So now, all I can say is Jamaica, big up on yourself. Every patriotic Jamaican on the face of this earth is happy with this news, regardless of party affiliation. And for those of you who love party over country, you're a dying breed, and I happily look forward to a future with people who are patriotic and who put country over party, who put their children's future over party. Thanks for watching. Like, share, leave a comment below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.